Legally 4. That's why we gotta figure out what to do with these other 4 girls that they're aging out.
Well, this is like somebody like ratchet them out.
Of course, and we keep them in a pen in the back. It's not like they're doing anything.
Are you able to have them in the city limit?
Up to 4 over, I think it's 406,000 square feet.
You can't have a rooster though, unless.
Well, you shouldn't have a rooster.
Well, somebody complains.
Exactly.
And that's what happens.
Well, what's funny is, so this is an interesting thing, statistically, friends. We live in a neighborhood in Bend. As with many neighborhoods in Bend, there's an HOA, a homeowners association, which is basically this quasi-governmental entity that is designed to annoy the piss out of you. There's a rule in the CCR document, which is the pseudo-constitution, that says no poultry, nor livestock, nor blah, shall be kept, comma, except for reasonable numbers of popular animals. Now, I understand what the person was trying to do with that statement. They were trying to make people not have chickens in their backyard. The problem is, by saying too much, they made it possible for me to have chickens. Chickens are the 4th most popular pet by number in America. I encourage you to look it up online.
What's the 3rd?
Dog, cat, and... Might be fish. Might have been fish. Well, chickens are a part of the bird, but they had it broken down by, chickens are the most popular bird, if you go by pure numbers. And the thing is, they didn't tell me what to go by. They just said, except for a reasonable number of a popular style or breed or whatever it was called. Like, okay, if they had just stopped by saying, no poultry or livestock shall be kept on a lot, period, then I'd be screwed. Then I'm breaking the law. But they put comma, except for reasonable numbers of popular kind. I'm like, well, there you go. And actually, I went to a meeting once, and the guy was like, you can have chickens on a lot. I'm like, yeah, you actually can. He's like, no, it says right here. I'm like, keep reading past the comma. And he said, it says of a reasonable number of popular kind. I'm like, yep. And then I handed him the paper that I had printed out that shows that chickens are the 4th most popular pet in America. It's like, what is this? I'm like, that's proof that you're wrong. And he's just like, well, this doesn't prove anything. I'm like, it proves everything, actually. You want to argue with me? That's totally fine. I'm going to win this one. So, you can argue house colors all you want. I can't. I have no justification to talk about that one, but I'm going to win this one. And eventually he stormed out in the huff. I'm like, there we go. Check for Sean. But that's the thing is, you have to worry about defining things. That's the trick. So many people get so worked up statistically about definitions. If you just define something properly in the beginning, then you don't have to worry about anything. Then you can leave the definition alone and focus on the mathematics behind it. But this was never defined. So hence why we have chickens in our backyard.
And why would that guy care or give a damn?
I don't know.
I
don't know. I mean, I think there's some of course, right? But I think there's some built-in animosity towards backyard gardening. I don't know why. But there's some people that love doing it. We also keep a beehive in our backyard. I've been told bees are dangerous animals. I'm like, no, yellow jackets are dangerous animals. Bees don't want to sting you because if they sting you, they die. Right? A yellow jacket will sting you just because your butt is near its hive. Only because I sat on one. And they can keep stinging you all they want. A bee stings you once and it dies because it loses part of its guts when it does, or part of its whatever venom sac. There's just misconceptions, I think. I think that's that. Imagine that, a misconception breeding misunderstanding, breeding action, breeding, yeah, whatever.
Well, without bees, we would die.
We give them some, we let them keep some, we keep a bunch of it, and they pollinate. I mean, that's the problem with the animosity towards things like beehives and chickens. The chickens are pooping, creating natural organic fertilization. The bees are pollinating everything in an area that has, I mean, if you think about it, bee populations worldwide are on the decline. We're losing half the hives every year, apparently. I mean, it's been estimated that if the beehives continue to collapse the way they're doing, within 5 years of them falling below a critical level, the crops as we know it will not exist.
So do you just
bees keep us alive, pretty much.
No, they keep themselves warm. You don't need to pamper animals like bees. They keep. I mean, I was out there when that snow we got, that 25 inches of snow. I went out there and I looked at them like, oh God, I hope they're okay. And then I piled snow up around the sides. I've got black tar paper on these solar reflectors because they put themselves in trees, usually not white boxes. And then the sun came out a couple days ago and they were all cleaning house, kicking the dead ones out, pooping outside. You know, I mean, it's just amazing to watch. Nature will win, but it's just that we as humans try to break nature. We try to win over nature. It pisses me off. Anyway, let's build a flock of 2. We're going to add, that's Nancy. We're going to add Nancy the Orpington into the mix. Great layer, by the way. You guys want eggs? This is probably the best species in Central Oregon, I think. Orpington's very, very consistent.
Orpington?
Orpington with an O. Orpington. She is called a Plymouth Barred Rock, I believe, or a Barred Rock or a Plymouth or something like that. Also a good layer. Both of these girls, very good layers. My grandmothers, Bertha and Mary. So now the question is, let's figure out the likelihoods that I actually have some girls. So let's go over here. Let's go over here. Let's make flock number 2 by 2 pullets. Flock number 2. 2 birds. All right. So we're going to use the same x and p of x. X is still going to be the number of girls that I'm getting, because that's what I'm interested in. I don't want boys, I want girls, because I want eggs.
When you say birds, you mean pullets?
I mean birds. Well, technically speaking, I'm buying pullets, but I don't know if they're a pullet or not, right?
Okay.
A pullet is a good. Did you hear? This is a very good, very, very good question. I don't know if they're pullets or not. So Haley, yeah, I mean, I bought 2 pullets from the store, but all I know is it's chicken, and it might be a rooster. When I say chicken, I mean in general, it's a chicken that could be a girl or a boy.
Oh, I
So I'm analyzing now how many ways I can get girls. Is that fair?
Yeah, I misunderstood.
Oh, that's okay. And I'm trying to be super careful about when I write the word pullet versus writing the word bird, because all I know is when Max picks up Nancy and we call her Nancy, it might not be Nancy. It might be
Nate.
Nate. There we go. Thank you. I couldn't think of a good boy name there.
Well, it's also, you have 1 pullet written on the.
Oh, I do?
Yeah, so that's why I was confused.
That's why.
See, I was being uncareful over there. It's okay. If you're buying birds, call them pullets. I'll put it in quotes so I feel better about it. I want a pullet. There. There we go. All right. So how many girls can I actually get?
2.
Get 2?
1.
I might not get any, or I might get 1. Beautiful. I might get none, I might get 1, I might get 2. How likely are each of these outcomes? How likely are each of these outcomes? Pick any one of them and tell me how likely it is. Using a pseudo argument that we had before and also from your last project. This one here? For the 1. No, for this one here. So what's the chance of this?
I don't know.
No. Go. 90% is the chance of getting a girl. But the problem is I bought 2. And I've got 1 girl.
Is it 0.9 times 0.9?
Where would that be, Veronica? We'll come back to that, Linda. Where would that be, Veronica?
And then 2.
81.
Mm-hmm. This would be, can I put squared? Is that okay?
Yes.
0.9 squared? Wouldn't that be, which would be 81%? Thank you, David. There's an 81% chance I'm going to have both of them be girls. So you see, it gets harder to get all girls as you start adding birds. And we saw this earlier when we did the 4 flocks.
So would 1 be 0.09?
1 would be 0.09, but remember I have a rooster in there too. I bought 2 birds, but I got 1 girl. That means I also got 1 boy.
So 0.1.
times
So you're saying, here's 0.9 for the 1 girl, yes? And then 0.1 for the 1 boy. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
We got a boy and we got a girl.
But
And
I said 0.09.
Yeah, it is.
Not 0.09.
oh, that's 0.0. So
Yeah.
works out to be 0.0. I'm sorry, I'm going to show you the math too,
Okay.
if that's okay. I want to show you the math as well. Is that fair?
The other way.
Oh, what other way?
The first one can be the boy.
Oh!
So you add them
Oh!
together.
Let's come back. Give me 2 minutes on that, Kels. I love what you're saying, and it's 100% correct. But it might not be pseudo-obvious right now as to why it has to be that way. If we can come back, if that's okay. I love what you're saying. Let's go to the 0 girls. What's the chance of that happening?
So 1.
You're just saying 0.1 squared. Does that make sense? It has to be, right? Because you have to get a rooster and then get a rooster. Now, that's not going to happen very often, is it? That's not going to happen 1 in 100 times, right? Good. Now, this isn't quite right, is it? If you add this up, it's not 100%. Kelsey, tell me why it's not 100%.
Because you can switch, just like you can switch that, so there are 2 possible 0.09.
Right. This is actually too low. This assumes that the first bird that Max grabbed, that is Bertha, was a girl and Nancy was a boy. But isn't there another option? Bertha can be a girl and Nancy can be a boy.
Or.
Or Bertha could be the boy and Nancy could be the girl. You see that? Does that make sense? It's like rolling the dice. It's exactly like rolling two feathery little dice that come up 90% girl and 10% boy. Think of two 10-sided dice. That's what these birds are. They're two 10-sided dice. On 9 of the sides is a little G, and on 1 of the sides is a little B. And think of the dice as 2 different colors, like we did in class like last week, I think it was. When you roll a sum of 3, you can have a 1 and a 2 or a 2 and a 1. This is exactly what you're looking at right here. You have to account for both of them. That ends up being 18%, yeah? Mm-hmm. And doesn't that now add to 100%?
Yes.
That's legit. You've now got the sum of the probabilities being 100%. Let me ask a question. Why don't we have to do this kind of accounting for all cases here or here?
Because there's only one way.
It's like snake eyes, right?
Yeah.
It's like snake eyes, top and bottom. They both have to match. You can't turn them around. Even if the dice are, say, black and tan, like they are right here, you can't move the dice around if they both roll rooster or both roll chicken. The only time, this is why I purposely avoided the middle of these distributions on your last couple projects. It makes way more sense to talk about it in class together. Cool? On average, how many girls do we get? Anybody figure this out? Go ahead. Yeah. You got tools. You got an issue already. Outrageous.
Like close to 80%?
Well, a number of girls though. A number. Like, so we had 0.9 of a girl.
0.84.
0.84 of a girl?
How do we get 0.84?
0.81 squared plus, or times, yeah, plus.
Oh, so, okay, so I see what you're doing. So 2 times 0.81
Yeah,
plus 1 times 0.18
plus 0.
plus 0. So 2 times 0.81 is 1.62, right? That's not squared, it's times. So this guy times this guy. 1.62. Carly's going old school, if it's okay with you guys. She's using the average as the summation of the x times p of x. I think most of you are probably just going straight to your TIs and doing 1-bar stats. Totally fine, no problem with that. So if you do it this way, you end up with 0 times 0.01, which cancels, plus 1 times 0.18, plus 2 times 0.81. That's 1.62, that should be 1.8, I think.
Yes, yes.
You get 1.8 girls per 2 birds. On average. Cassie's like, oh, you can't do that. Well, you can on average, though, right? Now, does that make sense with the 0.9 from before?
Yeah.
Yes.
It does, doesn't it? Every bird contributes 0.9 of a girl to the average. You add another bird, you add another 0.9 of a girl. 0.9 plus 0.9, 1.8. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You guys buy that?
So 3 would be 2.7.
Good! So we know already. Very good. Flock number 3, which is 3 birds. Take a look. Who did I buy third? We bought Marge. Now we're into my wife's side of the family. And she's the Americana. These are great because they lay little green eggs.